Hey, everybody. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2026. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate everybody being here this year. And look at the turnout again. This is fantastic for January. This is usually our low month. And we had 60 people sign up for this event today. So that's fantastic turnout. We really appreciate it. We'll get to having Heather up here in just a couple minutes and do the presentation. We're looking forward to it. I heard a lot of people talking about their own experiences with ERP implementations earlier. So Heather, you've got an audience that's been through pain and suffering, and they're hoping to learn. A little bit about us, AITP. Most of you know this. We're really one of the several different networking organizations here in Raleigh. We see ourselves as fairly inclusive. If you look around the room, we've got IT practitioners and folks that support IT practitioners across the whole spectrum of the all sorts of different industries, but also from senior level, CIO level people to we've got a whole bunch of people from NC State here as well today. So we are also part of a national chapter, or part of a national organization, I should say. We are one of the chapters. And National started up probably about 2 years ago, or really started regenerating itself. Kate Lewis is really instrumental in getting it started. And we're continuing to interact with them. They've added 2 new chapters recently. So if you are traveling, our membership, we haven't figured out yet how to make membership portable and stuff like that. But if you are traveling to any of these other locations, and it's kind of an interesting mix, like Akron and Northeast Wisconsin, but they're out there. And there's 2 or 3 other organizations or areas in the country that are looking to become national as well. I encourage you to go check out the website, and if you're in the area, check it out. We have a new 2026 board. You guys all witnessed, or hopefully many of you were here. I recognize a lot of faces that were here to see the board get sworn in back in December. This is the new board. Chris Zarati is not able to be here this evening. He has a brand new baby girl. So we prioritized appropriately, as they say. And Rich wasn't able to make it this evening too. He had a business travel that took him away. We also have an advisory committee that advises the board. We meet with the MAC members twice a year. And basically, we present to them what our strategic plan is, and we'll look for feedback. They've given us a lot of feedback about our sponsorship, our membership programs, and helped us tweak that as well. So it's been very instrumental over the years. So we have a new management committee this year. Most of the members are, actually all of those members were there last year. We have one person who had to drop. So this is a great group of people. If you're here networking, these are some of the people that are really important, I think, to meet with. They've got a ton of experience, and so they're just great people to network with as you're working around the room here. We have several different sponsors, and we've got 3 that are notable. Proofpoint is new, and for us at AITP, we're all going to join into a new sort of relationship. We haven't done this before. This is our first sustaining sponsor. And sustaining sponsor for us means that we are going to make a commitment with Proofpoint to support a non-profit organization. We're going to look for something that's in the STEM area. That's new for AITP. We're really looking forward to it. We've had this level of sponsorship out there for a little while. And Proofpoint has stepped up and will be that new partner. You'll hear more about this as we go along. This will be a learning experience for us, and we've been really clear with Proofpoint. This will be a learning experience for all of us as we figure out exactly what this this sustaining level means. Looking forward to that relationship and sharing with all of you the information. One of the things that we found really interesting is, if you were here for the December event, we did it was our first real event. Becky helped drive this to do some local charity work, and we raised quite a bit of money for a place at the table. So it's something that we're interested in doing and being more involved in the community as we go forward. We also have 2 foundational level sponsors, Barracuda and Polera. So encourage you to speak with these representatives if they're here and to do business with them as well. A little bit about membership. We have two different basic types of membership. We have individual memberships and we have corporate or group memberships. The individual membership is broken up into an annual membership, which is what it says, it's an annual membership. And also a quarterly membership for folks that are in transition, that maybe for financial reasons that's more comfortable for them. Or frankly, if they just want to try us out for a couple of months and see what it's like. So we encourage people to take whichever membership that works. We also welcome guests. We do have these priced in such a way that we try to encourage membership, but we also really like to have guests here. So if you are a guest, you always feel welcome at any of our events. If you are a manager or a leader in an organization, we encourage you to also look at some of our corporate memberships. These are very flexible for those organizations, whether you're higher education or you are at a company. You basically get to designate 5 different people every single month for each of the relationships you have with us or each of the memberships you have with us. So it provides a lot of flexibility for companies to celebrate wins with a team, to send folks off to specific training. We've had some organizations that have got a lot of IT people that maybe need to hone some of their people skills. And so sending them to a night of networking and dinner is actually a good thing for their personal and career development. So we've got one organization that's been using it pretty routinely for that type of work too. So it's very flexible, and the firms get to decide kind of how they want to choose those 5 people and for what purposes. We have 2 new members in the last month. This is also not abnormal to only see a couple of new members over the holiday season, but are you both here, Aaron and Jason? Excellent, welcome. Love to have you here. I believe you've come before as a guest, is that correct?
Yeah,
excellent, that's what we'd love to see, thank you. We have some ambassadors, John, Mesh, and Scott, thank you. If you're a new member here, or even if you're an old member and you just kind of get confused, right? You need some help. These 3 people can help you out. They're great people. They're also pretty heavily networked, so also great people to leverage to how to get to know people and to if you're looking for a particular type of person to talk to while you're here, these are great resources for that. And Scott's been so happy since he got off the board, but we won't. We also have several different levels of sponsorship. We talked a little bit about the sustaining on the right-hand side there earlier, and the foundational in terms of those 2 sponsors that are out there. We do also have a chapter level sponsor, and then also Social Plus. These sponsorships, the Social Plus is an event one, the rest of them are all annual sponsorships. These sponsorships allow us to go off campus, as we like to call it, 2 or 3 times a year. Offset some of that. It allows us to buy a little bit better beer. If you recall, a couple of years ago, we were pretty domestic, and this year the beer, we had Trophy Wife tonight. I don't know if you guys noticed that. That was really good. So those are the types of things that the sponsorship allows. And obviously, as any type of organization, we're a nonprofit, but having a good financial base underneath us allows us the flexibility and the freedom to be able to be more planful and to attract and buy some other equipment and banners and things that just make it a little bit more comfortable here for everybody. So appreciate all of the sponsorship from the various firms. We've got a couple of topics coming up. Most of you might know Abel. He's a member. He's been with us for several months now, retired military, and is in a Duke program right now. Really smart, interesting, experienced person, humble as the day is long. You talk to him, it sounds like he hasn't done a whole lot in his life, but he's managed, through his military time, on tens of thousands of troops at a single time. So has a ton of experience. So we're going to hear a little bit about some of the skills that he learned in the military that he's trying to transfer over to civilian life, just to share some of those experiences with us. Registration is open. So I encourage folks to register early. You've all heard us say this before, is the earlier we register, the earlier we can have a conversation with the U Club. If we get enough people, we get the bigger rooms, which are a little nicer, but that's really all dependent on people signing up a week or so in advance. We have to commit the room pretty much the Monday before the event. So that's kind of the number we go with. We fudge it a little bit, but it really drives our capacity. So we love to see people signing up a week in advance if you could. We're also trying to build out our calendaring to be at least 3 to 4 months in advance. The feedback that we've received from a lot of the members here is that it helps them plan and it helps them think about their own calendar and their own schedule. Most of the people here are pretty busy. So we're trying to provide some transparency into the future. We have our annual Women in Technology panel discussion that's coming up in March. We've got a great panel that's already committed to that. You'll hear more about that next month, and we're starting to work into the topics and conversations. The VPs are doing that work in the next couple of weeks. On April 9th, we do have an opening, so if you do know a speaker or you would like to be a speaker, please have a conversation with Jerome or Chris. And then on May 14th, we're going to do our CIO Mac mentoring program. This is really, we did it as an experiment a couple of years ago. It was a real big hit, and so now we've done it for several years in a row. We have our Mac members and a couple of CIOs. We have tables set up, and people can ask them questions, and then we rotate people through or we rotate the CIOs actually around the different tables because it's just easier. But you can ask them any questions. So you get to do some speed mentoring, and you get to hear some really interesting perspectives from people with 30 and 40 years of experience out there in the industry. I think it's a fairly unique experience. I don't know any other group that does this. So, really encourage people to be thinking about it, talk to their friends about it, and come and leverage that experience. And then in June, we're going to do our joint event with SIM. That will be at the Carolina Exotic Car Club. This is where we did it last year. That was also a really fun event. It's a great venue if you haven't been there. It's just got a great feel to it, and it was a really, really fun time. We'll have racing sims probably going if we can find a sponsor to help offset the cost for that. That is always competitive and very fun. So come enjoy that. Bring your driving shoes. And then I'd like to introduce Heather. You can come on up. Heather's going to talk to us a little bit about enterprise cloud transformation. And I looked at her deck earlier today, and I thought it was quite exciting. So thanks, everybody. And Heather, here you go. Yep, or I see the light, I think.
Okay, great. Thanks. Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Brooke. Thanks for the introduction. As he said, I'm Heather Dunn. I'm here to talk to you tonight about enterprise transformation, cloud transformation, ERP. For the record, it's interchangeable for me tonight. It's all the same, although not everyone is on the cloud. A lot of folks are. They will be soon if they're not. So everything here that I'll talk about tonight is transferable to large-scale programs for software implementations. Before we go a little further, does anyone not know what an ERP is? I know a lot of folks here do, because I've met some of you. Okay, we're good. Right. One other kind of housekeeping. I love a good conversation. So if you have questions as we go along, shout, raise your hand. You don't have to hold it till the end. I would love to just kind of exchange information here. So we'll start with a little bit of background, mine, and why ERP programs fail. We'll talk about defining success, team strategies, change management, and then we'll wrap up with some lessons learned. Right, so background. This is why I'm here. I don't want to share my entire resume, but I want to share with you why I know what I know and how you can be successful with ERP implementations. I have been working in this world for many years, many roles, functions, industries, maybe more than 14 years if you count me as an end user in a call center as a college student. So that is an experience that I have used over the years, over and over, to recall what it's like to be an end user, have a system, sit in a training room for 3 weeks. So I don't know if anyone's worked in a call center. I was so happy to be in a training room and off of the phones, but not when I had to go back to use the system and couldn't remember anything that had been kind of like dictated at me for 3 weeks. It didn't go great. They don't. They're always rough when you go live. It's a lot of change. And I ended up becoming something that they called a red hat, but like getting off the phones on the floor, helping solve problems for folks who were taking calls and couldn't use the system. So again, just more information as an end user about an ERP implementation. I didn't quite know what that was until I was sitting in a college class for MIS, and there's a whole chapter on it, and then the kind of light bulbs and things started to click. I landed in a role right after college leading EDI for ERP systems for a global engine manufacturer. So that was my first kind of official role with ERPs. EDI, for those who don't know, is electronic data interchange. It's how the ERP systems kind of communicate with all the trading partners. It's very big in the automotive industry, standardized, regulated, all of those things. By the end of my time there, I was a program manager helping standardize as like an EDI subject matter expert for their global redesign of Oracle on-prem. So they were going to go into every manufacturing plant and say, you need to use this model, this design for our ERP. After that, I landed a role locally, software with a software development company, leading their full-blown implementation, moving from Oracle EBS on-prem to Oracle Cloud Fusion for financial accounting and project accounting. So end user, book learning, ERP, engine manufacturer, now software, but leading a full-blown implementation. So no longer subject matter expert, but I'm responsible for everything. I really had some major oh crap moments in that role, but it was great. It was wonderful. A great 5 years. I learned a lot. Took a quick detour into digital go-to-market. I would love to talk about it another time. It was a lot of fun, but I wanted to get back to what I knew, which was operations. It's what I love. I have a soft spot for it. And that has landed me in my current role with a clinical research organization. A new role with ERP implementation where I am an IT delivery lead into a business-led program. I'm also now accountable for application managed services, the production support model, the stabilization, all of these things. So again, this is not meant to be like my resume, but to tell you, I know what I'm talking about, right? So yeah, I was telling Kate, I feel like this may sound a little arrogant. I am so lucky that I have only had ERP successes. So that does not mean I have not seen things go wrong, which, we'll cover some of that. But I'm glad that I haven't had any major failures. Right. So a very bold statement. Up to 75% of ERP programs fail to meet original objectives. Who has experience here with that? Oh, like someone does. Morgan, right? We met earlier. Right. I don't have a lot of heartburn about failing to meet original objectives. The program that I led at SaaS, which was a software company, originally wanted to go live in like 6 months with 13 countries. Please, no way. It was the US in a year. So like the goalposts move, right? You have these lofty ideas. You think you can do all of these things. You actually start doing the work and it changes. What really matters is this stat down here below, the subset, that up to 40% are actually major failures, where you have a lot of rework, abandonment, the system is just not used, or disruption to the business. Right. Has anyone experienced that? Oh, great. Okay. We can talk later. Right. So why do these migrations fail, these ERP implementations? It is not a system issue. It is leadership and execution, 100%. This system has problems. We can talk about technology all day long, but it's about the leadership and the execution with something so large and complex. Starting with a lack of executive alignment. When I was at Cummins and they were setting up this kind of like, you pick one of the 3 best designs and we're going to implement it. After they designed all of this in about 3 years in a closed room, they went into the plants and they said, no way. The plants were like, nope, we're not going to do it. You didn't engage us. We have all these things going on. Here's a myriad of reasons why we're not going to implement that system. So the teams had to go back to the drawing board. They had to re-engage leadership across the company and figure out who they could put in the queue and go next and start those implementations, right? Next is poor change management. I'm going to kind of tie that with vendor underperformance. And I think these titles can be a little misleading because I think the root of the issues with change management and vendor performance is actually tied to cost cutting at the executive level. So both of these items are high cost, right? You can't do an ERP implementation without having a vendor. Most of the time, they're the big five system implementer, right? You have to have the experts. They come with a big price tag. You have to pay for that talent and that expertise. But the sticker shock is real, and the executives don't want to pay that much, and then they want to cut resources or change the statement of work. You'll get junior resources who are learning on the job, and then your executives are kind of mad because they're not like cutting it, or you don't have the right headcount, right? Or you've cut too much out of the statement of work to save money, and then that unfortunately reflects on the vendor. Change management is the same. I think executives think it's fluffy. They don't know what value it is. Isn't it just comms? Can't the program manager just do it? We don't want to spend that money. No, absolutely not. I have seen no change management, poor change management, and stellar change management. So that's why I'm a huge advocate for organizational change management. And then post go live planning. If you don't have support, like you can do a really great job in the program and go live with the system, but if the support isn't there, it doesn't really look like you did a good job, right? Who's helping the folks who don't know or fixing the things that do break? Because it's never perfect. Right. So, how do you succeed? Any thoughts? No? Okay. I would like questions at the end, please. Right. So you could just take these causes for failure and flip them around, but it's not like the failure is not a success strategy. It's a little more nuanced than that, and it's all connected, and it's where leadership and decisions make or break, quite frankly. So you have to define success before you start. What is the aim? Aim is a little more broad. You need to get the executive alignment. There's a higher chance of success once you have that. But what is the aim? Transformation. Transformation of what? Transformation for growth. And then what does that mean? What are your goals? Are you trying to be faster with reporting? Are you trying to reduce your cycle times? Are you trying to close faster every month? Right? You have to have like your purpose and then the specific goals that build that out. And that's also where the buy-in is. It's not just executive alignment, but when you're able to define these things, it helps you select your vendor partner because you now know what needs to be in scope and what you're trying to accomplish. It also helps you get your teams aligned. They have the same goal, right? What are we trying to do and why? Why should anyone care? This. When you define this, and that's what you lead with over and over, there's no room for ambiguity or confusion. Right? And then part of that is managing the disconnect between the IT and business. I think we were talking about that earlier tonight, right? Some of these things are also very, they're tied together and heavily correlated. I tie a lot of it to the different language. The business very easily gets lost in tech speak and kind of they don't care, right? They'll glaze over. So why does it matter to them what you're doing? What do they care about runtime for a metric? What do they care about technical debt? Well, the CIO cares about technical debt. The CFO cares about ROI. Well, technical debt erodes ROI. It's the same priority. It's the same priority. It's the same metrics. You have to find that shared language that makes it the same for everyone. And then that's kind of the beat of your drum. Again, your purpose, your aim, your goal. But you have to be able to translate. And I think I think it's a special skill that you can develop. It tends to be an executive skill you can practice. And I think it comes with curiosity and communication. Like you just have to be open and learn. What do your stakeholders want? All of them, the business and IT. And this is coming from all my years in ERP. I've been right in the middle of both. Right? I can't do ERP work without being part of IT and part of the business. Lastly, timelines. It's kind of on its own over here because tech teams have their own timeline. We have release schedules that are pushed to us from the cloud. You get it, you love it, whatever, right? You have the business. In my world, finance right now, they have closed their month-end close schedule, their quarterly schedule. It's not the same. And then you have the executives that want to go live really fast. And so how do you manage those timelines, lay it all out, and find something that works and kind of plan ahead for any of the barriers or surprises that would come from that? Team strategy is my favorite. And this, to be clear, is not a vendor strategy. So I know part of the blurb for tonight was about vendor management. My trade secret, if you will, and how I've been successful is that the vendor partners, which we love to call them partners and strategic partners, they're team members. They're team members. Treat them like your team. Hire them like your team. Do they have a cultural fit? Do they have the skills that you need? What are those skills? How do they fit into your company and your organization? It's not the best price. It's not the best sales show. Hire them and treat them like your team. They have the same goal too, right? Obviously, a vendor is trying to increase their revenue. They want more sales, but your success is their success, right? So you both want the same thing. You both want to go live. So you have to kind of manage and work together in that way. That does mean, again, assessing the cultural fit. I can tell you that I have fired vendors before because they weren't a fit and we did not select them, and it turned the program around. And that was a hard lesson to learn. We had a delivery lead, which is a critical role within SI, come into a program, and he wanted to fire our organizational change manager, right? And she actually had history working with the same firm, or the same consulting firm. I think there were a lot of dynamics at play, but the short version is it was not a cultural fit, right? You couldn't come into that company and tell them what to do. As a privately owned company, there's only one opinion that mattered, quite frankly. But it set the tone. And so as soon as we released the lead and found the right one, the right fit, things turned around. And then from there, we practiced what we learned and began kind of vetting our team members more and more, and kind of hand selecting them. I would say critical roles. I mean, these teams can be 50 large, right? You're not going to handpick every team member. You also have to pick your internal team. I think that is an important selection criteria as well. It's not just like someone looking for the next role or who's kind of interested, right? Sometimes you're just putting butts in seats on a program like this. You need the right folks for the job internally and externally. And then define that team structure and ways of working. Things like, is it, when you have a meeting that's critical, you're defining requirements. Do you have a tech lead, a business lead, and a BA all in one? Is it the three in a box, right? You have to kind of set the structure, set the standard, define the ways of working, and let people go do with those guidelines. And then reiterate the shared goal. I think I've mentioned that a few times, but folks get really busy and involved in the tasks. These programs are complex. There's a lot of work to do, usually in a short amount of time, also with not enough people. And it's easy to kind of lose sight of what it is you're trying to achieve. So you have your team in place, and now you need to lead through complexity. I learned this lesson at SaaS when the program was about 250 people. That was vendors and direct reports. Not a soul reported to me. Zero authority. I was still responsible and accountable for all of their work and going live with the program on the cloud. I did that by building trust and credibility. The way that I did that was telling them what I was going to do, doing what I said that I would do. There were times I broke trust. I had to fess up. I had to admit that, had to repair, had to keep going. One of the things that was critical in that particular program, and I have seen it helpful in a lot of other roles that I've had, is shielding the program team from the executive work at the top, right? It's kind of a different world, different reporting, different purposes, the politics, if you will. Leave the team to do their work, what they're good at. They don't have to get involved in a lot of the churn that can kind of happen at the top. I would say one example too, in that area, lesson learned at SaaS and everywhere, not enough people, not enough time. The teams were really struggling, and they kept saying, Heather, we need, I need 2 more headcount. I need more people. How can we get people? And I said, well, you can't, until there's a problem to solve, right? Like you need people, but our leadership doesn't see that because you're doing the work of 3 people. So stop doing the work. Well, I can't do that. I'll get in trouble. No, you won't, because I'm going to stand in the way. If there's a problem with our team and their burnout and their inability to do the job of 3 people, stop doing the work. And when we're not meeting those requirements or those deliverables, it actually falls on me. I'm the program manager, right? I had to follow through. Thank God it all worked out because they trusted me. They started to pull back a little bit. And then it became very apparent. There was data to say we don't have enough people. They didn't want to hire more people, which is fine and fair, but we got more time. So that was, the trust, the credibility in leading teams that don't report to me. And then response matters, how you respond when there are surprises, because there will be. You cannot plan for everything. Things are going to go wrong, but how are you responding? How are you engaging with your team? I've seen some very poor public adverse reactions from leadership when there was a surprise, and it ruined relationships, even within, not with vendor partners, but within the company teams. It was very difficult to come back from, difficult for me, kind of like stay in the middle, keep them apart, and make sure everyone kind of delivered and move on. So response matters, and making sure that people feel safe when it all starts to fall apart, that they can speak to it, not cover it up, and you can collectively solve the problem together. Cutting through the complexity. These are execution behaviors. So you've got your team, you're leading the team. You need to set them up to cut through things that are very difficult, make it simple. That's the best way to execute and get things done. Ruthless prioritization. You cannot have 300 custom reports. You just can't. Now is also not the time for your brand new MDM strategy. Nope, that doesn't make the cut either. What are your goals? What does it take to achieve the goals? And that's it, right? And if there's something new, if there's scope creep, what's the proof? What's the ROI? Why should we deviate? There has to be just cause. Otherwise, everything starts to make the cut. You start to say yes to everything, and you're not going to be successful. Clear decision paths. With that, the autonomy. I think the clear decision paths, one of the most important things is what type of decisions go where, and what autonomy and authority do your teams and leaders within the program have to make decisions themselves? Do you trust them? Do you allow them and just say, decide, notify, document, we're good, right? And then the higher level, right, headcount. We need more money, we need more time. Probably should go to the executives. But defining those decision paths. Deciding fast. I think most of y'all probably are familiar with agile, fail fast, right? Decide fast, fail fast, pivot. Otherwise, you get stuck trying to do all of the analysis, figure out all the risks, and make the best right decision. There's not one. Do the work, get the information, and move on, right? And then simplified communication. What's in it for everyone you're talking to? What's in it for them, and how fast can you say it? Just keep going, keep it simple. Don't let folks get confused by the tech speak or too deep of a justification for a change request. Just keep it simple. What do we need and how do we get it? And then escalate early with facts. This is one of my favorites. FYSA, for your situational awareness. Just situational awareness. Give me the information, give me the risks, whatever. The sky is not falling. Something to watch out for so you can manage situations before they become a situation, right? And then change management. I am not a change management expert, but I'm a super fan. I could talk about change management a lot, also as a non-expert, because I'm a super fan. Under that umbrella is adoption. You don't have success or system deployment, doesn't matter if you don't have end users to adopt the system, right? If they're not going to use it, you could do everything right in the implementation, flip the switch, turn it on, but if your users don't adopt it, that's essentially abandonment, right? That's the 40% we saw in that first slide. And that falls under change management. Good organizational change management can get those adoption numbers high using early champions, change champions early on. Those are business members, not part of the program. So the folks who are not in the weeds, they don't know everything, but they get like a sneak peek. They get to be on the inside, they get the scoop, and then they get to go share the good news, right? The what's in it for them to their peers. Part of that is also clear benefits messaging. What's in it for them? It's not a system that you have to, right? You don't want end users to think, oh, I have to do this. I have to use the system because I'm being told to. Why should they? What is it easier to do their job? Ideally, yes. But why? How? Less time on month end close. You don't have to work a Saturday to close the books, right? Things like that. What's in it for them? Training falls under the change management umbrella. If you recall the 3 weeks that I left not being on the phone, that was useless when I got back on the phone because the training wasn't executed properly. It was one format. I didn't retain it. I didn't have my book at my desk, right? But if I had been hands-on, if it had been delivered in different formats, if we had done maybe some job shadowing, you have to be comprehensive and targeted with the training and deliver in multiple formats. Multiple formats also includes global teams, right? Global teams learn differently and they obviously have a different language. You're not going to deliver training in Japan the way that you will in Raleigh, North Carolina, right? I've seen folks try to do that. Cost-cutting measures, by the way. It's not great. So don't skimp, right? And I don't want my messaging to be that you have to spend all the money in the world. These programs are very, very expensive, and I think unnecessarily so. But you have to strike a balance because at some point you end up cutting so much cost that you end up spending so much more later, right? You save $30 million on the front end, you feel really good about the negotiations, and you spend 60 more on the back end trying to fix everything. It wasn't successful, right? And then go live support, not exactly change management, but this is kind of the lead up here. Your support structure is essential. I can tell you right now that at Syneos, we went live in July, and we have had a steady stream of 700 tickets every single day. We're also closing 700 tickets. What is going out is coming in. And that has to do with our support model. We did not pay for enough hypercare from the experts. Hypercare is not 6 weeks. That is never enough, for the record, never enough. But we did the knowledge transfer, but it was also really short. We said, okay, tell us everything you know, give us the documents, record the meetings, now go support the system. And it was handed over to a team that were not actually part of the implementation. They just got to take it and now figure out how